Mama, why does that man have our eyes? The question pierced through the crowded marketplace. Ilara's blood turned to ice. Look, Mama, he has the same mark on his neck that Kai has. 5 years. 5 years of running, hiding, building a life in the shadows. And now, in one innocent observation from 4-year-old twins, everything was about to shatter. Behind her, she heard it. The sudden silence, the weight of a gaze that could bring kingdoms to their knees. Alpha King Darien had found them. Or rather, his children had found him first. The morning had started like any other in the border village of Thornmere, with Ilara pretending she was someone else. She stood in the square, her hands rough from years of labor, clothes simple linen instead of silk. The twins were beside her, Lyra and Kai, with their impossible silver-gold eyes that she'd spent 5 years trying to hide. We were only looking at the pretty horses, Lyra said, pointing toward magnificent stallions far too fine for this shabby village. Rich horses meant rich owners, nobles, questions Ilara couldn't answer. We need to go, she said, taking each child by the hand. The crowd shifted, parting like water. Make way for Alpha King Darien of House Steelclaw. Every person dropped into bows. Ilara's body moved on instinct, pulling her children down with her. Don't look up. Don't look up. But Lyra, curious and 4 years old, tilted her head to peek. Mama, why does that man have our eyes? Ilara's hand tightened on her daughter's shoulder, but it was too late. He has the same mark on my neck. Kai's voice rose with excitement. And then Lyra said the worst possible thing. You look like us. Ilara's head snapped up, her eyes locked with his. 5 years since she'd last seen that face. 5 years since those storm-gray eyes had dismissed her like she was nothing. 5 years since he'd chosen someone else. Alpha King Darien stood frozen, staring at the twins. His eyes moved from Lyra to Kai, comprehension breaking through confusion. The twins stared back, their silver-gold eyes, his eyes, wide with innocent curiosity. The mark, the crescent moon birthmark at his throat that Kai had been born with. Ilara clapped a hand over her daughter's mouth, yanked both children against her body, and ran. Ilara had been 19 when she first met Darien, and she'd been a completely different person. Lady Ilara Nightshade, daughter of Duke Aldrich Nightshade, one of the most powerful nobles in the werewolf kingdom of Silverpeak. Beautiful, educated, accomplished. Her wolf had manifested at 13, a rare silver-white beast that made the entire pack gasp in awe. She'd been groomed her entire life for one purpose, to catch the eye of someone powerful and make a match that would elevate her family's position. She'd done better than that. She'd caught the eye of the future Alpha King. Their first meeting had been at the Spring Solstice Festival. Ilara had worn pale blue silk that made her auburn hair look like fire. When Darien had looked at her across the festival grounds, something had sparked. Something real. Or so she'd thought. Dance with me, he'd said, appearing at her side without preamble, as if she should simply know who he was, as if everyone should. She'd taken his hand because refusing a prince was unthinkable, but also because her heart had already started racing in a way that had nothing to do with protocol. That dance had led to a walk in the gardens. The walk had led to a conversation that stretched until dawn. The conversation had led to stolen meetings, secret letters, promises whispered in the dark. You're different from the others, Darien had told her one night. His fingers tangled in her hair as they lay hidden in a grove of silver birch trees. You see me, not just the crown. She'd believed him. Gods, how she'd believed him. Their relationship had unfolded in shadows. He'd told her it had to be hidden. The king, his father, was traditional and would insist on formal courtship rituals. Better to keep it private until the time was right. She'd accepted that. Accepted the secrecy, the waiting, the way he could only see her when his schedule allowed, the way she had to pretend in public that they barely knew each other. Because he'd promised. When I take the throne, you'll be my queen. You'll stand beside me, and everyone will know you're mine. Ilara had built her entire future on those promises, had turned down other suitors, had endured her parents' growing concern about her lack of prospects, had waited patiently through season after season of festivals where Darian danced with other women while she watched from the sidelines. Soon, he always said, just a little longer. The turning point had come at the annual Alpha Summit, where packs from across the realm gathered to renew alliances and conduct pack business. Darian's father had been failing. Everyone knew it. The transfer of power was imminent. Ilara had dressed with extra care that night, knowing this would be the moment. Darian would announce their relationship, would finally claim her publicly as his intended mate. She'd entered the great hall of Ironhold Castle with her head high, her father's arm steady beneath her hand, her heart full of hope that was about to be shattered. "We gather tonight," the old king had rasped, "to witness the formal betrothal of my son, Crown Prince Darian, to Lady Seraphine Bloodmoon of the Eastern Territories." The words had hit Ilara like a physical blow. Seraphine. Beautiful, elegant, politically perfect Seraphine, whose pack controlled the richest mining territories in the realm. Seraphine, who had just walked into the hall wearing crimson silk and diamonds. Ilara's eyes had found Darian's across the crowded hall. For one terrible, devastating moment, their gazes had locked. She'd seen the truth in his face. Not surprise, not reluctance, not even apology. Just resignation. As if this had always been the plan. As if she had always been temporary. He'd looked away first. The ceremony had proceeded. Ilara had stood frozen among the celebrating crowd, unable to move, unable to breathe, unable to process what was happening. But the worst part came later that night. She'd been in the gardens, hidden behind the hedge maze, crying in a way she hadn't cried since she was a child. And Darian had found her. "Ilara." His voice had been quiet, almost gentle. She'd whirled on him, fury and pain warring in her chest. "How could you? It's not what you think. You're engaged to another woman. 3 years, Darian. 3 years of promises. 3 years of believing." Her voice had broken. He'd reached for her, but she'd jerked away. "Don't touch me. Ilara, listen to me. The betrothal to Seraphine, it's political. My father arranged it. I had no choice." "You always have a choice." "Not when I'm about to take the throne. The Eastern Territories are crucial. Their resources, their military support. Without them, my reign would be challenged before it even begins." "So I was what? A distraction while you waited for a better offer?" "It wasn't like that. What we had was real. It still is. This doesn't have to change anything between us." The casual cruelty of those words had stolen her breath. "Doesn't have to change anything? I'll marry Seraphine because I must. For the kingdom. For duty." He'd stepped closer. "But you could still be mine. We could continue what we have. Discreetly." The slap had echoed through the garden. Ilara's palm had stung, but not as much as her heart. "I am not a mistress. I will never be someone's secret shame." Darian's jaw had tightened. "You're being emotional. When you calm down?" "I see perfectly clearly. I see a man who lied to me for 3 years, who let me believe I had a future when all along I was nothing but convenient." She'd laughed, bitter and broken. "Get out. Get out before I shift and tear out your throat." He'd left, and she'd collapsed in the garden, knowing with absolute certainty that her life would never be the same. 6 weeks later, she'd realized her monthly bleeding hadn't come. Another 2 weeks, and the nausea had started. By the time the healer confirmed what she already knew, Darian had already married Seraphine in a ceremony so grand the entire kingdom had celebrated for a week. Ilara had stood in the healer's private chambers, hands pressed to her still flat stomach, and made a choice. She would not be the scandal that tainted Darian's reign. would not be the former lover who showed up with an inconvenient pregnancy, begging for scraps of acknowledgement. Would not subject her children, twins the healer had discovered with shock, to a life of whispers and shame. She told no one, not her parents, not her friends, not a single soul. She'd simply disappeared. Faking her own death had been easier than expected. A dramatic note left in her chambers. Her favorite shawl found on the banks of the rushing river, known for its deadly currents. A body, procured at great expense from a woman who'd died in childbirth, similar enough in size and coloring, discovered downstream 3 days later. Her parents had buried the body that wasn't hers. Darian had sent a formal note of condolence that was as cold as it was brief, and Lady Alara Nightshade had ceased to exist. In her place was just Alara. No family name, no noble title, no past. Just a pregnant woman fleeing to the borders with nothing but stolen gold and determination to survive. The twins had been born in a small border town. She'd nearly died. Twin births were dangerous even with proper care. But Lyra had emerged first, screaming, followed by Kai, quieter but no less determined. And when Alara had held them for the first time, blood-covered and exhausted and terrified, she'd known she'd made the right choice. These were her children. Hers alone. Darian had given up any right to them the moment he'd tried to make her his secret mistress. For 5 years, she'd kept that promise to herself. 5 years of moving from town to town. 5 years of doing whatever work she could find to keep her children fed and safe. 5 years of teaching Lyra and Kai to never talk about their eyes, their marks, the way they seemed stronger than other children. 5 years of freedom. And now, in one careless moment in a crowded marketplace, it was over. Alara ran through the marketplace with her children's hands gripped tight in hers, her heart slamming against her ribs. Behind her, she could hear the commotion, shouts, the clatter of armor, the thunder of boots on cobblestone. Stop them. The voice wasn't Darian's, one of his guards. But it didn't matter whose voice it was. What mattered was getting away. She yanked the twins down a narrow alley between 2 shops, her mind racing. The village had 3 exits: the main road south, the forest path to the east, and the river gate to the north. The main road would be watched immediately. The forest was too dangerous with children. That left the river. "Mama, you're hurting my hand," Lyra whimpered. "I'm sorry, baby. We have to run. Can you run for Mama?" Both children nodded, their eyes wide with fear they were too young to understand. They burst out of the alley into a smaller square. Alara's eyes scanned for the quickest route to the river gate, and found Darian standing directly in their path. He'd moved faster than she'd anticipated, faster than should have been possible. But then, he was the Alpha King. Speed and strength beyond normal wolves was part of the package. Alara skidded to a halt, instinctively pushing the twins behind her. Darian stood 15 feet away, his chest heaving slightly, the only sign he'd been running. His guards flanked him, hands on sword hilts, but he raised one hand to keep them back. "Don't," he said. Just that one word, but it carried the weight of an alpha command. Alara felt her wolf stir, responding to the dominance in his voice even after all these years. She shoved it down viciously. Her wolf had no say in this. "Let us pass," she said, keeping her voice steady through sheer force of will. Darian's eyes moved past her to the twins. She could see him processing, really looking at them for the first time. Lyra's face was the feminine version of his own sharp features. Kai had his jaw, his brow, and those eyes. Those impossible silver-gold eyes that no one in her family had ever possessed. "They're mine," he said. Not a question. A statement of fact, delivered with absolute certainty. "They're mine," Alara countered, putting steel in her voice. "You have no claim to them." "No claim?" Something dangerous flickered across his face. "I'm their father." "You're a sperm donor." The crude words made his eyes narrow. A father is someone who's there, who raises them, protects them, and loves them. You're just a man I made a mistake with 5 years ago. Ilara. Don't. She cut him off, taking a step back and pulling the twins with her. Don't say my name like you have any right to it. You made your choice, Darian. You chose your crown and your political marriage. I chose my children. We're done here. She turned to run, but Alpha Command slammed into her like a physical force. Stay. Her body froze. She felt the twins freeze too, caught in the ripple effect of the command. It was an Alpha ability, forcing submission through sheer dominant will. She'd forgotten how it felt, like chains wrapping around her chest, squeezing until she couldn't breathe. No. No, she was not that weak girl anymore. She was a mother with children to protect. Ilara reached deep inside herself, down to the place where her own wolf lived. The white wolf that had once been her pride. And she let her eyes shift. Just her eyes, filling with the silver-white glow of her beast. Release. Us. Her voice carried her own alpha resonance. Not as strong as his. Never as strong. But enough. Enough to crack his hold just slightly. Enough to move. She spun and ran, dragging the twins with her toward a side street. Ilara. Darian's roar followed them, fury and something else. Something that sounded like desperation, coloring his voice. You can't run from this. Watch me, she thought viciously. They burst through a garden gate, scattering chickens. An old woman shouted after them, but Ilara ignored her. The river gate was close now. So close. If she could just... A figure stepped out from behind a building, blocking their path. Ilara stumbled to a stop, her heart sinking. The woman was tall, elegant, wearing traveling leathers that probably cost more than Ilara earned in a year. Her blonde hair was pulled back in an intricate braid, and her ice blue eyes held the cold calculation of someone used to assessing threats. Lady Seraphine, Darian's wife, the queen. Going somewhere? Seraphine's voice was silk over steel. Ilara said nothing. Her mind raced, looking for exits, for options, for anything. Seraphine's eyes dropped to the twins and something flickered across her perfect features. Disgust? Anger? Ilara couldn't tell. So the rumors are true, Seraphine said softly. The dead Lady Nightshade lives, and she's been raising my husband's bastards in secret. The word bastards made Ilara's blood boil. Don't you dare call them that. What else would you call children born out of wedlock to a man who belongs to another woman? Seraphine took a step closer. Did you really think you could hide them forever? That no one would notice 2 children with the royal bloodline marks wandering around? They're not your concern. Oh, but they are. Seraphine's smile was razor sharp. Everything that concerns my husband is my concern. And these children, she gestured dismissively at Lyra and Kai, are a threat to my position, my future, my children when I have them. Ilara felt her wolf surge forward, barely contained. Touch them and I'll kill you. Bold words from a woman who's been hiding in border villages for 5 years. Seraphine's eyes glittered. You should have stayed dead, Ilara. It would have been easier for everyone. The sound of running boots echoed from the street behind them. Darian and his guards were catching up. Ilara made a split-second decision. She couldn't fight the queen and the king and a dozen guards, but she could protect her children one last time. She dropped to her knees in front of Lyra and Kai, gripping their shoulders. Listen to me, she said urgently. Whatever happens, you remember. You are good. You are strong. You are loved. Do you understand? You are loved. Mama, what's happening? Kai's voice trembled. Why is everyone so angry? Lyra added, tears spilling down her cheeks. It's going to be okay, Ilara lied, pulling them into a fierce hug. I promise. Hands grabbed her arms, hauling her away from the twins. Guards. 2 of them. Their grips like iron. No, let me go. Mama! The twin screams tore through her like knives. Darian appeared, breathing hard, his eyes locked on Alara with an intensity that made her want to shift and fight and run all at once. "Don't touch them," Alara snarled at the guards moving toward her children. "Don't you dare touch them, or I swear." "Enough." Darian's command cut through her threats. He looked at his guards. "Take the children to the royal carriage, carefully. They're not to be harmed." "What?" "No. Darian, please." "And her," he continued, his eyes never leaving Alara's face. "Bring her to my private study. We have much to discuss." "You can't do this. They're my children." "Mine." Darian finally looked away from her to his wife. Seraphine stood to the side, her face carefully blank, but Alara could see the fury simmering beneath. "My love," Darian said to Seraphine, his voice gentling in a way that made Alara's stomach turn. "Perhaps you should return to the castle ahead of us. This situation is delicate." Translation: Get lost so I can deal with my inconvenient former mistress without you watching. Seraphine's jaw tightened. "Of course, my king." The pause before king spoke volumes. As Seraphine walked away, Alara watched guards pick up her children, her babies, and Lyra was crying, and Kai was trying to be brave. "I'll cooperate," Alara heard herself say. "I'll come willingly. Just, please, don't scare them." Darian's eyes snapped back to hers. For a moment, something almost like regret flickered across his face. "They won't be harmed," he said quietly. "You have my word." "Your word," Alara repeated bitterly, "because that's worth so much." His jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. As the guards dragged her toward the royal carriage, Alara craned her neck to keep her eyes on the twins. "Mama!" Lyra's scream pierced through the noise. "I love you," Alara shouted back. "I love you both. Remember that." The carriage door slammed shut, and through the window she watched Thornmere, her home for 3 years, her sanctuary, disappear behind them as they rolled toward a fate she'd spent 5 years running from. Inside the dim carriage, Alara pressed her forehead against the window and let herself break. Just for a moment. She'd lost. After 5 years of careful planning, she'd lost in 20 minutes because her daughter had innocent eyes and a curious heart. The tears came then, hot and bitter. She'd promised them it would be okay. She'd lied. The journey took 3 hours. When the carriage stopped, Alara was led through corridors to Darian's private study. He stood by the window. The crown had transformed him. Harder, heavier, more king than man. "You were dead," he said finally. "For 5 years, I believed you were dead." "Good. That was the point. You faked your own death. Your parents buried a body. I did them a favor. You disappeared. You carried my children, my heirs, and you disappeared. They're not your heirs. You gave up any right to them when you asked me to be your mistress. That's not what I was asking." "Then what?" "You were engaged. What did you think we would be?" He couldn't answer. "I was convenient," Alara's voice shook. "Good enough for your bed, but not your crown. When I refused those scraps, you let me walk away. You kept my children from me, 5 years. Because I would not subject them to being your dirty secret. I would not watch them grow up ashamed. They're not a secret anymore. By tomorrow, the kingdom will know." "And what will you tell them? That you have bastards with a dead woman?" "I'll tell them the truth. That they're my blood. My children. They'll be acknowledged. I don't want them acknowledged. I want them safe. They're already in it. You can't unring that bell." Alara felt the walls closing in. "Where are they?" "The nursery wing. Safe. I want to see them. Soon. But first, the announcement. Tonight at dinner. I'm introducing them to the court. And you." "No. It's not a request." Alpha Command crept in. "This is happening." She was trapped. The great hall was packed. Every noble, every alpha, every wielder of power. Alara wore emerald silk Darian had sent, a reminder of who she'd been. The twins sat beside her in miniature court clothes, looking like little nobles. It terrified her. Presenting Lady Alara Nightshade, the herald boomed, and the children, Lyra and Kai. Every head turned, gasps of recognition, shocked whispers. They walked to the dais. Darian rose. My people, at the next crescent moon ritual, I acknowledge these children as my legitimate heirs. The hall erupted. Alara felt the twins' hands tighten in hers. These children bear the royal marks, Darian continued. They are of my blood. With respect, Your Majesty, an elderly counselor rose. These children were born out of wedlock. The law is clear. Children of royal blood are heirs, regardless of circumstance. Another voice cut through, Seraphine's. The difference is that Lady Alara staged an elaborate deception. She faked her death, hid royal heirs. That's arguably treason. You want to discuss opportunism? Alara stood. 5 years ago, I was pregnant when you married him for your family's mining rights. I chose to leave rather than become his kept woman. You threw away a marriage proposal for pride. I threw away disrespect. Alara's control slipped. Let's be clear, he made his choice and it wasn't me. Mama? Lyra's voice cut through. Why are you crying? The fight went out of her. This wasn't about her and Darian. It was about 2 children who didn't deserve this. I should retire, Darian said. This discussion can continue in private. How diplomatic. Seraphine's voice dripped sarcasm. Run when questions get difficult. Seraphine, we will discuss this later. Will we? Or will you make another unilateral decision? The Queen's composure cracked. Where does that leave me? You have heirs now. What am I? You are my queen. And she is the mother of your children. Seraphine pointed at Alara. I've given you 5 years of loyalty, and all of it means nothing because she gave you the one thing I haven't been able to. The admission hung like a bomb. A barren queen. Seraphine, don't. Her voice broke. Just don't. She turned and walked out, red dress trailing like blood. Darian stood torn. Alara said quietly, Go. She needs you. He left, and Alara stood alone with the twins before 200 shocked nobles. That night, Alara couldn't sleep. A knock came at her door. Master Theron, the court healer. I had to see for myself, he said. To warn you. You've walked into a viper's nest. I understand. Do you? Queen Seraphine has been trying to conceive for 5 years. Every month strengthens Lord Matthias's claim, Darian's cousin, who's been quietly campaigning. Horror crashed over her. What should I do? Make Darian see them as his true heirs. Make him care so deeply that he would burn the kingdom down to protect them. After Theron left, another knock. Darian. He looked exhausted. Seraphine is gone. Left for her family's territory. I'm sorry. I've made such a mess. He looked at her. You were right. I used you. Made promises I couldn't keep. Chose duty over what we had. Why are you telling me this? Because you almost died for me isn't true yet, but... He stopped. I want to know if there's any chance we could... Could what? Go back? You're married. I hate you. We have children who need stability. I don't want to go back. I want to move forward. I want to know my children. And I want... He stepped closer. I love you. I've loved you since we were 19. I loved you when I made the worst mistake of my life. And I love you now. Tears streamed down her face. I'm terrified of you. You broke me once. I swear I won't again. Let me prove it. I don't know if I can trust that. He cupped her face. Then let me prove it. Every day. Before she could answer, he kissed her. Gentle, careful, but with intensity that made her forget the pain. When they broke apart, he said, Marry me. Not for politics, because I cannot imagine my life without you. You're still married. Seraphine signed the annulment papers. I'm free. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. Is that a yes? She looked into his eyes and saw her future. Yes. Days passed in a strange limbo. The twins were given lavish rooms, toys, clothes. But they asked for Alara constantly, and Darian, to his credit, allowed them to see her every day. One morning, he requested time with them in the private garden. Alara brought them, watching warily. The garden was exactly as she remembered it, a secluded space behind the family wing, surrounded by high stone walls covered in climbing roses. It was here, 5 years ago, that she and Darian had stolen precious hours together. "Hello, Lyra. Hello, Kai," Darian said, crouching to their eye level. "Hello, Papa," Lyra said, less shy than before. "I want to tell you about the wolves of Steel Claw, your ancestors." The twins settled on either side of him beneath an oak tree. Alara moved to a stone bench, far enough to give them space but close enough to intervene if needed. Darian began speaking, his deep voice carrying across the garden. He told them about the founding of House Steel Claw, about the first Alpha who'd united the warring packs, about the magic that ran in their bloodline. "Is that why I can do this?" Kai asked, and before Alara could stop him, his eyes flashed gold, the sign of his wolf stirring. Darian's breath caught. "You can already touch your wolf?" "Sometimes," Kai said proudly. "Mama says I'm not supposed to because people might see, but I can make my eyes change and sometimes I can hear really far away." "That's remarkable." Darian looked at Alara, wonder and accusation in his gaze. "They're already manifesting abilities?" "They take after you," Alara said quietly. "Strong bloodline." "I can smell things Mama can't smell," Lyra added, "like I knew there were roses here before we came in." "The Steel Claw gift," Darian murmured. "Enhanced senses even before the first shift." He ran a hand through Lyra's dark hair with a tenderness that made Alara look away. "You're both extraordinary." "Mama says we're special." "Yay," Kai said, "but we have to hide it." "You don't have to hide anymore." Darian's voice was fierce. "Not here, not ever again. This is your home now. You can be exactly who you are." "Really?" Lyra's eyes went wide. "We can show our wolf eyes?" "Whenever you want." The twins looked at each other, then simultaneously let their eyes shift. Kai's to gold, Lyra's to striking silver gold. They giggled at Darian's expression. "Can you do it too, Papa?" Lyra asked. In answer, Darian's eyes flooded with the deep gray gold of his alpha wolf. The twins squealed with delight. Something in Alara's chest cracked watching them. This was what she'd denied them for 5 years, the simple joy of being themselves without fear. Had she been wrong to run? She watched them over the next hour. Darian taught them a children's game involving trying to sense each other's wolves while blindfolded. The twins loved it, their laughter ringing through the garden. "Mama, I'm hungry," Kai announced eventually. "Me too," Lyra added, rubbing her eyes. "I've arranged for lunch in the family dining room," Darian said, "if that's acceptable." They walked back to the castle together, the twins between them, each holding a parent's hand. To any observer, they would look like a family. The family dining room was smaller, intimate. The table was set with food chosen for children: fruit, cheese, soft bread, honey cakes. The twins dug in enthusiastically while Alara picked at her plate, hyper-aware of Darian sitting across from her. "They're wonderful," he said quietly. "You've done an incredible job raising them. I did what I had to do." "It's more than that. They're confident, curious, kind. That's good parenting." The compliment made her uncomfortable. She was about to deflect when Lyra suddenly gasped. "Mama, my tummy feels funny." Alara's attention snapped to her daughter. Lyra's face had gone pale. "Funny how, baby?" Like there's something moving inside, like..." Lyra's eyes went wide. "Mama, it hurts." She doubled over, a small cry escaping. Alara was around the table instantly. "What kind of hurt? Where?" "Everywhere." Lyra's voice rose to a wail. Darian was there too, his hand on Lyra's forehead. She's burning up. Alara, this is… her wolf, Alara said, recognition and horror flooding through her. No, she's too young. This can't be… Lyra screamed, her small body arching. Alara saw it, the telltale shimmer beneath her daughter's skin as her wolf tried to push through. She's shifting, Darian said, alarm in his voice. At 4 years old, that's impossible. Stop it. Alara grabbed her daughter. You're too small. But Lyra couldn't stop. Her eyes flashed silver gold, her hands starting to curve into claws. We need to get her somewhere safe, Darian said. If it stops halfway, it could kill her. Terror shot through Alara. No! The transformation chamber, now! Darian scooped Lyra into his arms. Kai, stay with your mother. I'm coming with you. Alara grabbed Kai's hand and ran. They sprinted through the castle, servants scattered. Guards stared. But Darian didn't slow. The transformation chamber was in the castle depths, a stone room designed for wolves who needed a safe place to shift. Darian kicked the door open and laid Lyra on the padded floor. What do I do? Alara dropped beside her daughter, panic clawing at her throat. Let it happen. Fighting makes it worse. Lyra, sweetheart, listen to me. Stop fighting. Let your wolf come. It hurts, Lyra sobbed. I know, but you have to let it happen. Can you feel your wolf inside you? Lyra nodded through tears. Good. Now, instead of pushing her away, invite her in. Let her come forward. I'm scared. I know. Darian's hand covered Alara's on their daughter's forehead. But your mama and I are right here. We won't leave you. You're safe. Alara looked at him, at the fear and determination in his eyes that mirrored her own. In that moment, they weren't former lovers or enemies. They were just two parents, terrified for their child. Listen to your papa, baby, Alara said, voice shaking. We're right here. Lyra whimpered, but stopped fighting. Alara felt the moment her daughter surrendered, felt the surge of power that rolled through the small body. The transformation was brutal. Bones cracked and reformed, skin rippled and sprouted fur. Lyra's screams turned to howls, and then a wolf cub sat where their daughter had been, tiny, silver-furred, with those distinctive silver-gold eyes. Alara couldn't breathe. Her 4-year-old daughter had just shifted. Years before, she should have been able to. The cub whimpered and stumbled on 4 legs. Darian reached out slowly, letting her scent his hand, then gently stroked the soft fur. Hello, little one. You did so well. You're so brave. The cub turned to Alara, making a small questioning sound. I'm here, baby. Mama's here. The cub stumbled into Alara's arms. She was so small, barely bigger than a house cat. Too small. Too young. Why did this happen? Alara looked at Darian. She's 4 years old. This shouldn't be possible. I don't know. The Steel Claw bloodline is strong, but even our children don't shift this early. He paused. Unless there's more to their heritage. Alara, where exactly did your family come from? Your mother's line specifically? The Northern Territories. Why? How far north? I don't know. She never spoke about her family. They were different. Isolated. Ilara's heart started racing. Why? What are you thinking? Before Darian could answer, Lyra began to shift back. The transformation reversed. Fur receding, bones reshaping. In moments, a naked, exhausted 4-year-old girl lay in Ilara's arms. Mama, she whispered. I was a wolf. I know, baby. You were so brave. Can I do it again? Despite everything, Alara laughed. Not right now, sweetheart. Darian stood. I need to speak with the archives keeper, if I'm right. He shook his head. Stay here. I'll send Master Theron to examine her. Darian, what's going on? I'm not sure yet. But if I'm right, your children are far more powerful than anyone knew, and that makes them targets. 3 weeks passed in a strange new rhythm. Alara slowly adapted to castle life. The twins thrived, learning to control their abilities with Darian's patient guidance. Master Theron had confirmed Lyra's shift was due to the Silvermane bloodline. He'd found records, ancient texts describing wolves who could shift by age 6, who possessed enhanced abilities even in human form, who had connections to the old magic. Your children are extraordinary, Theron had told Alara, but that power will attract attention. Not all of it wanted. The formal heir ceremony was being planned, a public declaration of the twins' legitimacy. One afternoon, Alara was reading to the twins in their chambers when the castle shook with screams. A guard burst in, face pale. Your Majesty, rogues, at least 50. They've breached the southern wall. They're heading for the family wing. Terror flooded Alara's veins. The family wing, where the children were kept. Lyra! She spun toward her sleeping daughter on the couch. We need to get them somewhere safe. Darian appeared at the door. The panic room. Now. He scooped up the still sleeping Lyra while Alara grabbed Kai's hand. They ran through corridors, sounds of fighting growing louder behind them. The panic room was 3 floors up, a reinforced chamber designed to withstand siege. Darian took stairs 3 at a time, Alara right behind with Kai stumbling to keep up. They burst onto the 3rd-floor landing and ran straight into chaos. 5 rogues blocked the corridor leading to the panic room. Their clothes were ragged, eyes wild, and leading them was a man Alara recognized with a jolt of horror. Lord Matthias, Darian's cousin, the one Master Theron had warned about. Going somewhere, cousin? Matthias smiled, showing too many teeth. With such precious cargo, too. Matthias. Darian's voice was deadly calm as he set Lyra down gently behind him. Stand aside. I don't think so. Matthias gestured to the rogues. I've waited a long time for this, for the chance to claim what should have been mine. The throne was never yours. It should have been. Your father promised my mother. When he took a second wife and had you, he broke that promise. Matthias's composure cracked. I've spent my entire life watching you wear a crown that belongs to me. This isn't about the crown. This is about children who have nothing to do with... Those children are everything. Matthias pointed at the twins. They're your heirs. As long as they live, my claim is worthless. But if something tragic happened during this terrible rogue attack... His smile widened. Who would inherit then? Alara's wolf surged forward, rage making her vision tint red. You touch my children, and I will tear you apart. Brave words from a dead woman. Matthias's smile was cruel. Did you really think no one would recognize you? You're a fraud, Alara Nightshade. And those children are bastards with no legitimate claim. They're mine, Darian snarled. That makes them legitimate. Does it? Or does it just make them targets? Matthias gestured to his rogues. Kill them all. Make it look like they died in the attack. The rogues lunged. Darian shifted instantly, his massive gray wolf exploding into being. He crashed into the first 2 rogues, his jaws finding throats with brutal efficiency. Alara pushed Kai toward the wall. Stay behind me. Don't move. Then she shifted. Her white wolf, dormant for so long, burst free with a fury that shook the corridor. She was smaller than Darian, but faster. She darted past Matthias's guard and went for him directly. He shifted too. A brown wolf, smaller than expected. They collided in a tangle of fur and fangs. Alara fought with the desperation of a mother protecting her young. She felt Matthias's claws rake her side, felt blood mat her white fur, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Behind her, she could hear Darian fighting, could hear the terrible sounds of wolves dying, but she couldn't look, couldn't divide her attention. Matthias's teeth found her shoulder. Pain exploded through her, but she used the momentum to twist, her own jaws clamping on his throat. Not hard enough to kill, just hard enough to make him submit. He went limp beneath her, the universal sign of surrender in wolf combat. Alara stepped back, ready to shift and check on her children. and felt something massive slam into her from the side. She hit the stone wall hard enough to see stars. Through blurred vision, she saw a rogue twice her size looming over her, its mouth open to tear out her throat. Then Darian was there. His wolf crashed into the rogue with the force of an avalanche, and the two massive beasts went rolling down the corridor in a violent tangle. Alara struggled to her feet, her shoulder screaming in protest. Where were the twins? She shifted back to human form, ignoring her nakedness, and frantically searched. Mama! Kai's voice. Thank the gods. He and Lyra were huddled against the wall where she'd left them, eyes wide with terror, but both unharmed. It's okay, she gasped, stumbling toward them. It's okay, I've got you. Movement in her peripheral vision. She turned to see Matthias, back in human form, raising a sword he'd grabbed from a fallen guard. Not at her. At Darian. At Darian, who was still in wolf form, still fighting the massive rogue, his back completely exposed. No! Alara's scream echoed off the stones. She ran. Her injured shoulder protested. Her body was already exhausted, but she ran. Threw herself between Matthias and Darian just as the sword came down. The blade pierced her side. Pain like lightning, like fire, like nothing she'd ever felt. She felt it punch through muscle and scrape against bone. Alara collapsed, her hands trying uselessly to stop the blood already pouring out. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was Darian's wolf form shifting mid-lunge into his human shape, his face twisted in anguish as he caught her. And beyond him, two small faces streaming with tears, calling for their mama. Alara woke to whiteness. White ceiling, white walls, and white sheets. The scent of healing herbs. The infirmary. Don't try to move. Master Theron's hand pressed gently on her shoulder. The uninjured one. You've been unconscious for 2 days. The wound was deep. 2 days. Panic surged. My children are safe. Both of them. They've barely left your side. Theron gestured to her left. Alara turned her head carefully. Lyra and Kai were asleep in a chair beside her bed, curled up together like puppies. They've been so worried, Theron said softly. Kai hasn't spoken more than 3 words. Lyra cries whenever we try to take her away. Tears burned Alara's eyes. I need to. You need to rest. You lost significant blood. You're lucky to be alive. Matthias. In the dungeons, along with his surviving rogues, the attack was stopped. The king made sure of that personally. Something in Theron's expression shifted. He's been here too. Every hour he's not dealing with the aftermath, he's been sitting where you are now, watching you breathe. Where is he now? Council meeting, deciding Matthias's fate. Treason carries a death sentence. Death. More violence. When did it end? You saved his life, Theron said quietly. Matthias's blade would have taken his head if you hadn't intervened. I didn't think. I just moved. Exactly. Theron's smile was sad. That's what love is, Lady Alara. Not thinking. Just moving. Just being willing to die for someone without calculation. I don't. The denial died on her lips, because it was true. She'd thrown herself in front of a blade for Darian without thought, without question. Despite everything, she'd do it again, in a heartbeat. I'm a fool, she whispered. We're all fools when it comes to love. Theron patted her hand. Rest now. I'll wake the children. He moved away, and Alara heard soft sounds of him rousing the twins. Their small, sleepy faces appeared at her bedside a moment later. Mama! Lyra's voice cracked. You're awake. I'm awake, baby. Alara managed to lift her arm, the one that still worked, and both children burrowed into her side carefully. You were bleeding, Kai said, voice small. There was so much blood. I know. I'm sorry I scared you. The man with the sword. He wanted to hurt Papa. Lyra's eyes were huge. And you stopped him. I did. You were very brave, Kai said seriously. Papa said you were the bravest person he ever met. Ilara's throat tightened. Did he? He said you saved his life. Lyra snuggled closer. He said we should be proud of you. Before she could respond, the door opened. Darian walked in. He looked terrible, exhausted, rumpled, with dark circles under his eyes. He stopped short when he saw she was awake, and something in his expression crumbled. You're awake, he said, voice rough. So everyone keeps telling me. The twins scrambled off the bed, running to Darian. He scooped them both up, holding them close, his eyes never leaving Ilara's face over their heads. After sending the twins to play with guards, Darian turned to her. You almost died. For me. It wasn't... Don't diminish it. He moved to her bedside. You saw that blade coming and chose to take it yourself. Why? The twins need their father. Is that the only reason? Does it matter? It matters to me. Because I've spent 2 days watching you lie here unconscious, and all I could think was that I've wasted so much time. His voice cracked. I love you, Ilara. I've loved you since we were 19. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of you if you'll let me. Tears streamed down her face. I'm terrified of you. You broke me once. I swear I won't again. Let me prove it. He cupped her face. I love you. And I will choose you. Every day. Even when it's hard. I don't know if I can trust that. Then let me prove it. He brought her hand to his lips. Marry me. Not for politics. Because I cannot imagine my life without you. She looked into his eyes and saw her future. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. 3 weeks later, the great hall was packed for the heir ceremony. Every alpha in the kingdom was there. Ilara wore white and silver, colors of both houses. The ceremony was swift and powerful. Darian presented the twins, their birthmarks glowing with inner light. I acknowledge these children as my legitimate heirs. The keeper declared, the marks are true, the blood is pure. Then Darian turned to Ilara. Lady Ilara is my true mate. He extended his hand. Shift with me. Show them. They shifted together. The mate bond became visible, silver light connecting their wolves, pulsing like a heartbeat. The mate bond. The keeper whispered in awe. True mates, blessed by the moon. Darian looked at the assembled court. Still doubting? No one spoke. Then let the wedding proceed. Today. Now. The keeper bound their hands with silver cord. They made the blood oath. The mate bond surged between them, warm, strong, unbreakable. When they kissed, the hall erupted in applause. I present Queen Ilara Steelclaw, mate to the king, and mother of heirs. The twins rushed forward. Both parents scooped them up while the court celebrated. Are we a real family now? Lyra asked. Darian kissed her forehead. We were always a real family. This just makes it official. 18 months later, children's laughter echoed through the castle gardens. Ilara sat watching Lyra and Kai play with their baby sister, Arya. 8 months old, with auburn hair and gray eyes. Darian settled beside her. She's going to be spoiled rotten. Completely, but I can't bring myself to care. The twins had grown into confident 6-year-olds. Both could control their transformations now. I got a letter from Seraphine, Darian said quietly. He handed it to Ilara. I was wrong about you. You were simply a mother protecting her children. I don't blame you. Darian and I were never suited, but you have his heart. I hope you're happy. May the moon light your path. Seraphine. She deserves happiness too, Ilara said. A commotion at the garden entrance. Helena appeared. You have unexpected visitors. 3 figures emerged, wolves with distinctive silver-white fur and pure silver eyes. We are the Northern Pack, the woman said. The last of the Silvermane line? Your mother was our sister. When we heard one of our bloodline had emerged with steel-claw children, we had to come. What do you want? Darian asked. to offer knowledge, training. Your children will develop powerful gifts. They should understand both heritages. Alara looked at Darian. He squeezed her hand. Her choice. For now, she said. We'll see how it goes. As the northern wolves were led away, Lyra ran over. Mama, they had silver fur like you. Are they family? Yes, baby, they're family. Will they teach us magic? Not magic exactly, but special things about your wolf. Cool. Lyra scrambled up. Kai, we're going to learn special wolf things. Darian pulled Alara close. It never ends, does it? The complications. No, but we face it together now. Mama, Papa, Lyra called. Come play with us. In a minute, Alara called back, but Darian was already standing. Come on, the kingdom can survive without us for an hour. Family comes first, always. They joined the children on the grass. Imperfect, complicated, hard-won, but theirs. Alara looked at her husband, her children, the life she'd fought for, and felt peace. 5 years ago, she'd run. She'd faked her death, chosen survival, and it had led here, to this moment, to this family, to this love. Mama. Lyra crashed into her legs. Your turn to chase us? Alara shifted, her white wolf emerging. The twins squealed and ran. As she chased them through the garden, her mate watching with their youngest in his arms, Alara thought, This is what I was running toward all along. Finally, she was home. 5 years later, the Great Hall was decorated for the twins' 11th birthday. Lyra and Kai stood before the court, no longer small children, but young nobles. Master Theron presented them with ceremonial blades. In 1 year, these young wolves will undergo the coming-of-age ceremony. The court applauded. Alara felt Darian's hand find hers. Remember when they were so small? I remember everything. 5-year-old Arya fidgeted beside them. When do we eat? Behind them, 3 silver-haired wolves from the north smiled, watching their young relatives grow. The twins caught Alara's eye and grinned, identical expressions of mischief. So much had changed since that day in Thornmere Marketplace. But some things remained constant: love, family, fierce determination. You look like us, Lyra had said to a stranger in a crowded square. She'd been right. More right than she could have known. And from that innocent observation, everything had changed. Everything had become possible. Everything had become real.